Good afternoon. How's it gone so far? Good. Okay, we'll try not to change that in the next hour or so. As Dan said, I'm an entrepreneur. That just means to say I'm unemployable. Yeah, how many of you? Okay, my team's in the audience, so at least one person's excited about that. How many of you have got a job? Do you know what JOB stands for? Just over broke. Just so you know. So I got my first job and decided that I had to take a 50% pay cut to get my first job. I was doing 3 part-time jobs, which I thought of myself as being in business. I was 12 at the time. And my first mentor was my local milkman, a guy called Stuart Plank. I'll tell you a very quick story about Stuart. Stuart ran everywhere and smiled all the time. So I thought that's what you did. So you ran everywhere and smiled all the time, and you were just excited and happy to be doing what you were doing. So I kind of took that philosophy in everything I did. And I've told that story a lot of times, and I was back home to see my mum and dad recently. They live in Devizes. I live in Madrid. So I was back home to see them, took them out for lunch, and who walks into the pub to sit down on the table next to me but Stuart? So I got to go and tell him. So I go over and sit down on the table next to Stuart. I said, Stuart. He said, hello, Nick, how are you? He's a West Country boy. So I said, look, Stuart, I've got to tell you this story. And when I'm on stage, I tell this story, and 2 of the ladies at the table burst into tears and said, oh, man, he was so emotionally connected to that. But I tell you, that first mentor of mine changed my life about how I show up in business and how I work and how I treat people. I'm just happy to be doing everything. So my rule was always, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. How many of you run that one? Because one of the things I love about this KPI is it finds people's passion and turns that into their product or their service or their business. But I want to talk to you a bit about, if I can, my story, because what we're going to do for those of you that join the program on the day is really extract the DNA from your business and show you how you can get the maximum. Because when I look at most business owners, and by most I mean the SME world, something like 90% of the population or 80% of the population today is employed in businesses that employ 25 or less people. So it's an SME world. You know, all of the people that I talk to, whether it's government officials or business officials, tell us it's going to be the mid-tier or the small market that's going to save the economy. So it's us. It's up to us. Government screwed it up, so we got to go fix it. And what I see them all start with, and the first time I sit down and talk to them, I say, tell me about your business. What do they talk to me about? Got to work with me. Yeah, they talk about their product. They either tell me who they are in this is what I do. I'm an accountant, or I make chairs, or I sell cars, or I design kitchens. Very, very few say, well, I run this business and its current product line is kitchen design. That's not what they tell me. They say I'm a carpenter, I'm a kitchen designer, etc. So I started a really exciting business when I was 21. And I got a real problem trying to understand why I couldn't get my staff excited and motivated. I used to get up every day excited and motivated, and I can't understand why I can't get my staff that way. I made cardboard boxes. Yeah, exactly. I couldn't work out why they weren't excited either. And how many of you are in the packaging industry? Sort of in the packaging industry. Yep. So you won't understand some of this. It's a very boring, very dirty, very filthy, very messy, not very well paid industry. So you can see why we're all excited to be in it. And it has one characteristic which is really important, and I see it a lot in businesses. Anybody in the IT sector? IT sector, delivering IT. Typically, what does the IT sector sell its client? Day rate. Product or day rate. Okay? They don't always sell solutions. Some sell solutions, I get it, but product or day rate. And one of my best client stories that I'd love to tell you, because when I stepped into the business coaching space, was when I discovered about 6 months into running my first business that I actually didn't know how to run a business. What I knew how to do was a product. I was good at designing, building, and producing a product. I had no idea how to manage people, do marketing, train people, manage profitability. Couldn't read a balance sheet till I'd been in business 3 years. Didn't know what a balance sheet was in the first year. Just, if I make more money at the end of the month, and there's more in the bank at the end of the month than the beginning, I'm doing okay. That was the philosophy. And the success of being able to find out what was the core discipline in my business was absolutely key to the story, if you like. So what we talk about when we talk about product is that you have to have a core product. So if I'm not a modern technology guy, I actually wondered who this guy was when they said, it's a guy. I had a good look at that and went, really? That was, okay. It's not as good looking, is he? My father said to me years ago, send him the worst picture possible, then when you show up, you're a nice surprise, not a nasty shock. That was the deal. So basically, most people start with a product. What they do then is they go and look for some distribution channels. And when the distribution channel starts working, then they'll have to sell. How many of you, when you thought about your product, thought about the sales process? Like I see people spend hours and hours and hours and years developing product, and none of them go and think, how am I going to sell this? How am I going to take this to market? Okay? Then what we need is some sort of factory in here. So the factory, and then some sort of delivery system, and then at the end you need a client. And doing all of that in the marketplace, you create a position, i.e. something you're known for. So what the key person of influence part is all about. So the core of what starts every business is the product. So everybody rocks up at our program and says, I think we've got the product bit covered. And I go, not even close. Not even close. Not only is your core product probably not the one that's going to make you the most money, it's not the one the client thinks they buy, generally isn't the one that adds value to your client, and isn't the one you can charge the most money for. How many of you are feeling pretty chuffed about your product now, by the way? Yep, so that's what I discovered with my product. I sold cardboard boxes. Now, how many people in the world do you think sell cardboard boxes? There's thousands of them, and we were tiny. So I used to spend a lot of time trying to get my sales team to understand if we go out there and sell boxes, we're going to get nailed. We're going to get hammered, we're going to get undercut, they're just going to completely destroy us. So I want to talk to you about how I changed and ended up having a business that instead of making 2.5% margin, which was the average for the industry, we ended up making 25% and getting investigated twice because they thought we must be shifting drugs. 25% margin. Now, that's why I wanted to know if there was anybody in the packaging industry here. To make 25% margin in that industry is impossible. So I had to get out of that industry while still making packaging. And some of you are going to get out of your industry while still doing what you do. And that's one of the things that we explore when we start unpacking your product and pulling your product apart and seeing what goes on in there. So first of all, you need a core product, and most people start a business with a core product. Then what you need is a product for your prospects. So if somebody comes to you and you offer your product and they don't buy, what happens then? You'll have to shout. You don't have microphones. What happens? They go away. Does everybody agree? They go away, and one day, if you keep selling and marketing to them, you hope the need pops up at some time, and they'll come back and they'll buy your core product. Is that fair? But if that's the only product you've got to give them, then they're gone. So I remember years ago, I'd come out of my packaging business and I was doing some consulting, and I got quite a lot of consulting work because people would come in and go, "What? How did you get this margin? Like what? How do you get your staff to do this? How did you get your receptionist to talk like that? How do you get your staff to show up at those hours and work for that money?" And I said, well, I can come and show you. And I did. And one day somebody said, how much do you charge for that? And I went, there's a thought. Hadn't thought about that. So 25% margin out of an industry that didn't do better than 2.5, instant key person of influence, because I was the only one that was getting that. Got government recognition. They asked me to go and teach other businesses how to do it. And I was 28, 29 at the time. And I'd only just learned how to do it myself. And I suddenly found this extra intellectual property in my business that was valuable. So you need a product for your prospects. So I was in this speaking, engaging process. I'm not a speaker, I'm an entrepreneur. And it's nice to be up here and you're right out there, feels good. Scary at first, but how many of you like it up here, by the way? How many of you like, yeah, I love a room that loves to be on stage. It's when you're all scared to death of it up here. And I was trying to work out how I got out to the wider marketplace, and somebody asked me to do a goals session on the phone, just a call-in, conference call, etc. So I stood up in my office, because more energy when you stood up, and I chatted in the phone for about 40 minutes, and they sent me a tape and said, oh, we recorded it for you just so that you had the tape. I said, thanks very much. Oh, and by the way, we're going to give them away to everybody that wants to come on our course. Is that okay? So what we created was a product for my prospects and a product for theirs that cost almost nothing, about 45 minutes of my time. Somebody gave one of those to somebody who was running a program for British Aerospace. The CEO of British Aerospace listened to it in his car, phoned me up and said, Sir John Harvey Jones, does everybody know who Sir John Harvey Jones was? Head of ICI, couldn't make our annual conference, could you step in? So I'm going, what, did I just hear that? Sir John Harvey Jones, the guy I watched on TV doing, really? So I said, yeah. He said, the only problem is, he said, your tape, I can't really explain that to the board. Do you have anything else? So a friend of mine had done a whole bunch of videos of trainings that I'd done. I said, can you just clip something together, the odd joke, something that I did that looked good on the stage, just put it together in a video. And he titled it, "Who is Nic Rixon?" Because he said, that's what the board are asking. So let's take a video in there of who is Nic Rixon. That's been seen, I don't know how many times on YouTube now. The gig I got was, and if you want to go for charging by the hour, was an interesting pricing strategy. They phoned me up and said, how much do you charge? And I said, what's your budget? And they said, 35,000. And I said, thinking that was for the conference, not really thinking straight, you know, ICI conference, British Aerospace Conference. So I said, I'll do it for half that. And they went, okay. For an hour, 17,000, private plane, flew me up to Blackpool, and I'm going, there's no limit to how much you can charge for this stuff once you get past the hourly rate stuff. You know, what's the maximum you can charge for an hourly rate, you reckon? Like, when does it start getting expensive? 17,000, good girl. But it wasn't even expensive there, was it? So some of you are paying attention. What's an expensive hourly rate? $3 million. Yeah, that's not bad if you're Warren Buffett, but how about you guys? Because I might pay him $3 million, I'm not sure I'd pay any of you $3 million yet. I mean, you look okay, but I don't know yet. I'm not sure. So what's an expensive hourly rate? Depends, I love that word. It's like valuation equals profit times depends. Is that how you work your valuation model out? Because any accountant will do that, by the way. If you want to work the value of your business out, just check. How many of you would like to sell your business one day? The rest of you want to give it away? What's the deal there? So you're in it for, you know, finished? Like, is that the deal? How many of you would like to sell and get away with a reasonable amount of money? How many of you would like an unreasonable amount of money? See, I'm in the unreasonable amount of money, and the unreasonable amount of money comes from profit times multiple, and the multiple depends on what you do with your business in the product development space. If you are able to sell, if you want to jot this down, occasionally I say things that are profound, I'll give you advance notice. Worst pencil survives the best memory. If you are able to sell your clients more than one product, your valuation will go up. If you are able to sell them 4, you will get maximum valuation for your business, which is why the banking industry looks at how many products it sells its clients, and currently it's at 1.2. It's terrible in the UK. If you can get your products beyond 4, which is why you see films go to 4, Spider-Man 4, Superman 4, etc. Once they're past 4, James Bond, you'll buy anything they sell you. Is that true? Once you're past 4. Disney gets you to buy 4 products. Everybody who gets you past 4 products. So not only do you need a core product, but you need a second product. And a minimum. Now, if that's the only thing I could look at in your business when I was coming to value it, was the loyalty of your client base to buy more products, if that was the only thing I could have, that would be enough to tell me whether your business was worth buying or not. Now, our business model is a marriage of funds management, mathematician, very, very clever guy, Darren, some of you may know him, who does all the maths, and entrepreneur. So Darren went out and designed the strategy of what, where, when, and why you should build a business, and then recruit a whole bunch of entrepreneurs, people like me, to work out what and how you should do inside the business. And I'm telling you, one of the things you absolutely have to do is develop your product beyond just, I know how to make a product. Product skills in my world in a business are your ability to come up with, build, and bring new products to market. It's not how well you do your current product. Does that kind of make sense? So I'm sitting in this cardboard box business, making cardboard boxes, and if you understand the industry globally, what it currently does, everywhere, still does this, even though I changed the model, was it has a design team. You come to me with a problem, and you say, could you please pack that for me? I need it to travel all the way around the world, never get broken, cost 3 pence, and be absolutely brilliant and look fantastic. And that's pretty much what every client asks the packaging business. So we have a genius in our business called a designer. They design something, and we give that design away for nothing, because what we're trying to do is fill a factory full of machinery and people. So what we're trying to sell is still time on machines. The customer is buying something completely different, but what we're trying to sell, what we're focused on in the manufacturing world all the time is, how do I fill my factory? So I sat down and thought about this and went, this is crazy. We keep losing business because they take my design, because I had one of the best design teams in the industry, which was why we got so many solutions. We were actually called Combined Packaging Solutions. And they take that design and go somewhere else that was cheaper, that didn't have a design team like mine. So I thought, this is insane. Followed Buffett's example of do the opposite and just started charging. I just went from giving it away for nothing to saying, yes, we'll put you through our design team. If you want to work with us, we'll give you to our design team, and they'll come up with this amazing design. And if you want to use us afterwards, go ahead. If you don't, doesn't matter. A product for my prospects. which they actually paid for. And that's where the real value sat. Now, of course, as soon as I started charging for it, what did people say? You charge for your design, therefore you must be brilliant, is what they thought. Because if you can get away with charging for what everybody else gives away for free, you guys must be sensational. So suddenly, industry was coming to my design team and going, oh, you've got more designers for the size of business that you've got than anybody else in the industry. I was the first person to put a fully automated CAD/CAM system in, which is a manual, an automatic system for cutting products and giving them to the client. First person in the country to put one of those in. They were £150,000 when I put one in, way back when. That was a bucket load of money for a small business to spend. And we literally had the top 4 or 5 packaging industries in Europe coming to us for design. The design business, called Fourth Dimension Integrated Design Solutions, no longer exists, I sold it, made more money than the packaging business. The packaging business employed 72 people, an acre-and-a-half site and 6 lorries. The design business employed 4 and was in an office about the size of this stage. So the second rule is the second product usually makes you a lot more money than the first product. And it's very often something that's sitting in your business right now. You don't have to build it, you don't have to create it, you don't have to go and make it happen. It's something that you already know how to do. Is this making sense? Am I going too fast? 350 words a minute with gusts up to 500. So your job's to listen really quickly. So there I was sitting in my little packaging business, doing okay, and the third product that they started to buy was consulting. Now, you take that mental leap, packaging designer, packaging manufacturer, consultant. Like, it's a bit of a leap of faith, isn't it? From packaging designer to consultant. But what I had to do was package up the IP that was nothing to do with my product, but was to do with my process. Now, our aquarium man, what did he say? I didn't really understand the business process. So one of the other things you'll get from me, specifically in the sessions I run, is I specialize in the bit that sits around the product, the business process. How do you design a process that maximizes your product? How do you design a process that actually creates the second, that links the first product you give away to your prospect and ties it into delivering the second? It's almost like, buy the iPod, my God, I've got to have an iMac. Wasn't that a brilliant piece of marketing? I mean, what people missed way back then, when he put 75 million into advertising the iPod, at that time he had 3% of the computer market. Today it's about 40%, which is absolutely enormous. All because he put that money into the iPod. So sitting in your business is intellectual property and product that you currently don't even know you've got. What I'm really good at, what this process is really good at, is helping you find what that is. Getting your message clear with the key person of influence killer statement, your winning statement. What's the word? Perfect pitch, thank you. God, you can tell my pitch is great, can't you? I need to come back on the program, Daniel. So getting your perfect pitch sorted out, making sure that your product's absolutely right. Writing the book, I have to tell you, quick comment on that. How many of you have written your book? Okay, so how many of you still to write your book? So here's the key. I had somebody literally offer to do the book for me. They kept on and on and on at me. I was standing on stage training people, and everybody kept coming up saying, where can I get your book? And I'd have to keep saying, oh, I haven't written a book. And they'd go, what? And it wasn't like I disappeared in their estimation because I was an idiot, I hadn't written a book. It's just that they were so shocked that I hadn't written a book. So I thought, oh God, I suppose I better write this damn book. Didn't have this program then, so I was terrified of it. Stayed terrified for about 10 years and didn't write the book for 10 years. And finally, a friend of mine said, look, just come in the studio, speak it, and we'll, you heard the story, we'll turn it into a book. So I sat down Friday night, late Friday night, and I thought, well, let me just write all of the headings down. So I started writing late Friday night, about 8, 9, 10 o'clock Friday night, and lunchtime Monday I finished the book. The book. Completely. The entire thing. Now, I had a little tell that story, write that bit, don't forget, get a picture here, etc. I had to get a cartoonist to illustrate it. But as I wrote the heading, I went, oh, I really ought to say that, and that, and that, and that, and that. And I just went and filled in all the headings, and then went and filled in all the stories. I had about a 200-page, about 160-page book to start with, and then fleshed it out over the next month. And the most important thing was I write like I speak. So the first thing I said to the proofreader was, do not correct my grammar. I don't know what grammar is. When I was at school, it was called stupid. Now it's called dyslexia. Don't correct. If I say ain't in the book, it means I mean ain't. I'm from Wiltshire, so he says it like I want it to say. And the funniest thing was, a long time later, somebody walked up to me after I'd been on the stage, and they said, oh, Nick, that's amazing. I got your book a year ago, and you sound just like your book. So you've got to put you in the book. You know, people will connect with the you in the book. Fancy facts and figures and information, all well and good, but they have to connect with the soul, with the energy that got you attached to why you're passionate about your business. If your passion isn't in that book, then it's boring. Nobody will read it. Does that make sense? So how many of you are enthusiastic? That's weird. Like, oh, okay. I suppose I am, yeah. And the second thing is, if you aren't enthusiastic, if you don't overflow, if you aren't literally bursting at the seams to talk about your product, enthusiasm comes from the word entheos, it's the Greek, means spirit within or God within. I just remember the last 4 letters of enthusiasm, I-A-S-M, I am sold myself. If you can get me to feel about your product or service the way you feel about your product or service, I'm going to buy. I always buy from enthusiasts. I'm a terrible buyer. I buy everything you're excited about. I have so many products, it's just, I'm crazy about great products. But I don't buy good products from people who aren't enthusiastic about them, because they won't back them up, they won't look after them, they won't send me the second product, they won't get me excited. Is this helping? So, on the intellectual property, what Dan said is you must go looking for intellectual property. And I'll tell you a quick story about intellectual property, tell you a couple. Somebody's going to wave a sign at me that I have to ignore on timing at some point. Normally I just ignore the numbers saying 5 minutes left, so just so you know, we will run over. It's just managing expectations. So I was working with an IT business, and this IT business had the previous year done 198 quotations. So if you know anything about IT, what that means is you go in, have a look at what the problem is, do a whole bunch of analysis, come up with a whole bunch of ideas and a whole bunch of solutions, and if you're really, really, really good, the quotation solves all of the problems. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? So I listened to them talk this through with a growing sense of horror as they were talking me through this whole process. So I said, how many did you do? 190 plus. How many people did you employ doing all that? Oh, there's about 11 of us. So I said, okay. And then what happens? Well, if we win the bid, then we get a whole bunch of consultants that we have to put in to do the delivery at anywhere between 650 to 800 a day. So I said, you did say a day, like not an hour. He said, yeah, a day. I said, is that a good price? No, we get quite a lot of pushback on that. So I said, why? Well, he said, the industry standard's about 650. So I said, okay, I'm lost. Like, why are you charging 7? Well, we've got to pay for this massive team that's producing all of these amazing quotations. So I went, okay, got it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change all that. We're going to design a completely new sales process, and we're going to sell the sales process. So we're going to get clients to pay you to come and sell to them. And the first sales process looks like a 1 hour. And it talks through the whole, and we mapped it all out, and we designed drawings that they specifically draw when they're sitting in front of the client, because some people are feelers and they want pictures, and some people want data, and some people want a story. So we designed an entire process to engage them that told them that what they're going to buy is us coming in to work out what the problem is. And then if you want to go up the road for a $600 a day consultancy to implement it, that's up to you. And we charged £12,000 for that process. And the following year, they delivered 160 quotations. Straight on the bottom line. Now, the story that should help you remember this is the true story about a guy called Fred Smith. Do you all know who Fred Smith is? It's a very unique name. In some countries, it's a very unique name. So this is the guy that started FedEx. Heard of him now? So if you read the story, he built this crazy idea of this giant airport. He'd fly all these parcels in on his planes, and he'd ship them all over the world, and he had this great vision, and the first plane that flew in the first time had 6 parcels on, and 5 of them were FedExes. So they were kind of sitting there getting a bit worried. The rest is history, like it got up and running. But well into the program, what happened was the computer system. Now, computer systems back then were, 25 cabinets, all 7 feet high by 3 foot wide, with things going click, bang, whir inside. And this whole thing came to a standstill. So this was, you can imagine, it's almost like Terminal 5 coming to a standstill. Actually, Terminal 5 did come to a standstill. And all of the luggage not working, yeah? So it's pretty crazy when you pay a lot of money for that to happen. How many of you have heard this story, by the way, about what happened? Any of you? A couple of you, okay. So for those of you who haven't. So what he did, he called the engineer in. The engineer came in and said, okay, no problem, I know what to do. 13th cabinet, open up the door, turn the screw, and it all switched back on again. And Fred said, fantastic, thank you so much. That was costing us $60,000 an hour. Give me a bill. He went, there's your bill. He went, 10 grand? What? Give me an itemized bill. No problem. Boom. He went, okay, and paid it. Bill said, turning screw $1, knowing which screw to turn, 9,999. So I used to have that quote on the bottom of my invoices. If I did something special for a client, I used to put, ordered at 9 o'clock, manufactured, designed, and delivered at 1:30. Don't complain about the invoice in 60 days' time when you pay me. I never got complaints on my invoices, strange enough. They never used to get upset with me. So what I want you to get is a number of things. Number one, you need a what kind of product? Just see if you're listening. Core product, you've got to have a core product. Has everybody got a core product? Like, is there anybody in the room who doesn't have a product or isn't the product? So a couple haven't got the product. That's called screwed. It's a special business term. Means you're in the deep, smelly stuff. So you need a core product of some sort. Have you got a core product that people want to buy and need and adds value? Everybody? Anybody struggling with that? So you're all making a fortune? Oh, okay, so the vehicle for delivery might need working. So once you've got your core product, what do you need? Product for your prospects, yeah, absolutely. And what should that product for your prospects do? Well, it should keep them engaged. It should keep them engaged. It should be quite cheap or free. So it's a bit like saying, go onto our website and download our free ebook, which, by the way, you can. We have a free ebook on our website. Mine was a goal-setting tape. It wasn't a tape about I could do goal-setting. It was a straightforward goal-setting tape that if you wanted to, you could do the tape and get some value from that. And I've had plenty of emails saying, did the tape, did the work, worked well, thanks very much. So you need something that engages them, that leads them to the second product. Jobs went, flogged the iPod, and that will get them to buy the computer. So you need a product for your prospects that engages them, that has them have something, you know, they said no to your main product, you go, well, look, go onto our website and grab this. It'll give you a bit more detail, etc. Yep. What else do you need to develop? Second product, and be ready to develop the third. In fact, what you really need to develop, and what we work on particularly the product days, not just the product, it's the process and the skill set and the business infrastructure and your focus on becoming great product development people. If you can turn you as the entrepreneur in your business into the product machine, it's easy to go find a sales and marketing funnel to shove that down. We've got one here today called the, where's she gone? The Alibaba. You know, I've met plenty of people making plenty of money on eBay. You've just seen somebody making money on Facebook. So there are tons of channels out there if you've got the next product. It needs to have a reasonable cycle. So do you all know about the S-curve? Anybody not know? Seen the J-curve? This is the S-curve. It's curvy businesses. So do you all know the S-curve? Everybody know the S-curve? Okay, just quick show of hands, see what it's worth doing. How many don't know the S-curve? Never seen the S-curve? Okay, that's enough. So here's how it works, really quickly. When you start a new project, we got an idea, something's not working, we go, oh, we need to do something. When you start any new team process, is the energy organized and spot on, and it's working perfectly, and everything goes great straight out? I can see people shaking their heads, so like it doesn't, does it? It's like a bit of a mess, and we kind of got things sorted out, and who's doing what, etc. So normally the energy goes down. Then you have a meeting and go, we've got to sort this out, get everybody sorted out. You pick the energy up, off it goes. It eventually reaches the point of lacking effectiveness and it starts to tail off and it gets to about there, and then what do you say? Need another project. So we launch another project, what happens to the energy? Down it goes, and off we go again. Okay, that's called the S-curve. Now, what we talk about in the development of product and the development of business systems and projects, etc., and you won't get just product from me because you know, I sit in the business space helping people who have product turn it into a business, is what you need to be able to do is have the next product do that. So when do you need to plan? Right in the middle of the worst moment of the first project, if you don't plan in advance. So we normally talk about building a product skill set that brings new products to the marketplace so that you've got a funnel, a process ongoing, and you need a system to do that. And you need skill sets, and you need to enhance and update your skill set. Because your skill set is in delivering, building, making, or taking the first product to market. Does that kind of make sense? So we want to spend as much time with you as possible making sure that you're clear about what your product is, what your intellectual property is. The intellectual property in my business was we knew how to fix things with packaging. And what we were selling was machine hours in a factory, which anybody could sell. Do it in China for a tenth the price. That was the problem. What they couldn't do in China was what we did in our design team. I remember this one story. This lady phoned me up. She was such a lovely lady from Brighton. And she started talking to me about packaging. And to be honest with you, I hadn't actually found a problem that we couldn't solve at that point. So we were feeling pretty cocksure of ourselves. But she'd been on the phone, and I went, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. So she comes all the way up to London at the time, and she walks into my office, and she says, look, I got this really strange feeling when I was talking to you on the phone. She said, I spoke to about 6 people that morning, and they all knew exactly what I wanted, and they all said couldn't be done. She said, when I was talking to you, she said, I got the feeling you don't have a clue what I was talking about. And you said, yes. So I said, yeah. Oh. She said, you didn't know what I was talking about. I said, not a clue. I haven't got a clue what you want. She said, what have I driven all the way up here for? I said, because it doesn't matter what you want. You haven't come to me for what you want. You've come to me for the fact that I can fix it, and I can solve it, and I can design it. And if I have to design a machine to make the box that you want, I'll design the machine that makes the box, because that's our skill set. Our skill set is not making packaging. And once we work that out in our head, 25% margin. 25% margin. They used to pull me into major, literally global problems where packaging companies had failed to solve a problem because we got known for the intellectual property, which was how do I solve the problem, just happened to be using packaging. Then the manufacturing bit's easy. If you can get your problem out of the delivery space, turning screw, $1, into the knowing which screw to turn space, then you can give delivery to other people. So there's about 14 or 15 partners in Navitas that are sitting in what I call the strategic space, and we've got 230 coaches around the world that deliver in the business, that know how to go and take that intellectual property and that knowledge of how to work with businesses into businesses and help them develop and grow the business. So that's what I'd be looking to get you to do inside your own organization. You need to become your own intellectual property design coach and delivery mechanism. So how many of you feel you're comfortable doing that at the moment? Cool, so 1 or 2. Those of you, then you're probably on the KPI. No, I'm just joking. So what I would like you to be able to do is to be able to do that. Now, 25 years of running the packaging business, I eventually sold it to a company that wanted really just the design team, because anybody can do the manufacturing bit. And I kicked off this coaching business. And at the time, I was kind of delivering. I'd done the NLP master practitioner thing, and I'd gone and done the psych degree. And so I knew how people worked, et cetera. And what I love to see up there, by the way, is people saying, this changed my whole life. Like, our philosophy is we come and help you design product, and you say, thanks, Nick, we had a great product, but my wife left me, doesn't fit into my world. Thanks very much, you changed my whole life, and I now lead a better life, and I have 12 weeks holiday a year, and I've got more money and less stress and more time. Fantastic. If product is the focus for you when you're in my session, that's my outcome for you, is more money, less stress, more time. How many of you are up for that? So I work about 2 weeks a month. I retired at 45. As Daniel said, the only reason he doesn't talk about his boat, by the way, is he doesn't have one. You wait till he's got a boat. So here's my boat. So I don't have a boat either, but I do have a really nice house in Madrid. And I spend 2 weeks a month there, and I spend 2 weeks a month doing what I love, hopefully for people that love what I do. Now, if you can spend your time doing that, trust me, you'll never work a day in your life. And here's the other thing, I guarantee you that some of the people that were up on that screen will remember those emails saying thank you long after they've spent every single dime they ever earned doing what they do. Once you get past, once you really sit in the zone of doing what you love, the money is irrelevant. It shows up as a result of doing that. If the product that you are delivering, you are passionate about, and you are good at creating product, you'll never work a day in your life. So in the coaching space, I met this crazy man from Australia, who some of you have met, Darren Sherlaw, and he showed up and said, oh, looks like you're having fun. You're doing a great job. He said, let's have a look at your IP. And he went, yeah, that's okay. Here's mine. And what he'd done is conceptualize the funds management world. I'm not even going to go there and try and tell you how he did that, but he turned it into an ability to help business owners like you get started on building their exit strategy. So how many of you started thinking about your exit strategy when you started your business? Good girl, good man. Like, if you don't know what the end goal is, the end game, then what you will get on is a hamster wheel. It might be a very pleasant hamster wheel, and it might be a lot of fun, but a hamster wheel nonetheless. And if you are selling time for money, it won't be a very well-paid hamster wheel. Because at the end of the day, all of you have said the top-end hourly rate is about 800, 1,000 an hour. If you're getting more than 1,000 an hour today, then you're a Harley Street specialist or you're doing something very, very special. There aren't many people earning 1,000 an hour. Is that fair? Anybody here earning 1,000 an hour? What's the best? Somebody throw me best number you've got for an hour's work so far. And we're not measuring how good and how bad. I just want to demonstrate what you can get for an hour. Anybody got more than 250 for an hour? 680. 680? 775, good girl, like you. Keep going. What have we got? 3,000, top man, yep. Anybody else? So again, so when you start getting up to those numbers, oh, go on. 5K, good, I like it. Anybody beyond 5? So I'm going to tell you a very quick story about me not following my own advice. How many of you don't follow your own advice? So if you ever find yourself talking to yourself, that's okay, by the way. I always say talk to intelligent people and always listen when intelligent people talk. So don't find yourself getting upset when you talk to yourself. But if you ever find yourself going, huh? Then you know you've got a problem. And I was doing a coaching session with a guy that bought and sold oil masters, paintings. And I did 3 or 4 sessions with him. He'd been earning about 8-9 million, and then suddenly he stopped earning. And a friend of his sold me in there, and she got the number wrong. I was charging her $2,000 a day, and she told this guy $2,000 an hour because she couldn't remember. I went, okay. He never batted an eyelid because he's making 8-9 million a year, so it's all relative, isn't it? So I rock up thinking, geez, I've got to deliver $2,000 an hour's value. I better be good. So, you know, I stayed in the zone, kept going, and did 3 sessions. I said it would take about 8 or 9, and then he disappeared on me. Never paid me, ran off. And I thought, oh, that's a shame. Haven't heard from him for months and months and months. So I suddenly get a phone call. Nick, got to talk to you, got to talk to you. So I'll go around to the house, really, really nice house. He said, look, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. I owe you some money. So, okay, school fees had just come up. He owed me about $8,000. I'm kind of going, $8,000 would be really useful about now. He said, but I've got a deal for you. So I said, go on. He said, 10% of the upside, or you can have your $8,000. So what did I do? How many of you think I took the 10%? God, where were you as my coach when I needed you? No, I wimped and took the $8,000. And what did he say? He said, I'm going to tell you how much it is. I said, no, don't. He said, no, I'm going to tell you. He said, in the last 6 months, I've made 9.6 million. I went, I really wish you hadn't told me that. So I worked out that 960,000, call it 1 million, divided by 8 hours, call it 10. Like, just to be generous, a bit of travel time, is how much an hour? It's a technical term called a lot. And I didn't trust myself, but it was knowing which screw to turn and results. So the second thing you have to start getting yourself tied into is success fees. You have to share in their success. If you're charging somebody, and I always say to people when they say, geez, you're expensive, I go, listen, if I cost you 50 and make you 500,000, trust me, I'm cheap. It's why some of these crazy bankers get the money they do. One of my friends is in recruitment, was recruiting a guy, because I asked about this crazy salary stuff. He said, I'm recruiting a guy at the moment that earns 36 million salary. His golden hello handshake's 20 million. His first year's bonus is 100. And I went, how old is he? 36. Are you kidding me? What the hell does he do? Made his bank 3.9 billion last year. Now here's the deal. If I came to your business and said, I'll make you 100 million, give me 50, would you? Like, you don't care how much I earn if I earn you and the shareholders. And that's what I think that was missing, is we don't get enough of our own success fee built in. You've got to be really, really clear with your clients where you can. Not everybody can, but where you can get attached to success fees, when you can get attached to helping your client shift. That's when you can really leverage your hourly rate, your daily rate, etc. So it's completely understanding where your product delivers in their marketplace, as well as just delivers. Now, if you sell a table, and it's a nice table, you're not going to get many success fees. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can work out how to leverage that and sell, you know, silverware and parties and everything else that goes with that, then fantastic. But if you can get attached to success fees, that normally comes off the implementation of your intellectual property. So once you start to understand that the intellectual property that sits in your business is just literally something like an idea. It's just literally something like how you process an idea, how you solve a problem, how you do what you do. And most people do it subconsciously. They have no concept of how they do what they do. Is that fair? A good book to read, by the way, is Know Your Own Strengths. Anybody read it here? It was done by the Gallup organization, research on people who are brilliant at what they do. And most of them sit there and go, doesn't everybody do this? Isn't this how the way everybody works? So you've got to start to tune into what your main strengths are. So I was ordinary, left school at 15, didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing, classified as B+, could do better. And I went off, and in my second year in business, I employed one of the teachers that used to teach me that had been made redundant. That was a cool moment. I enjoyed that. When he rocked up for the interview, I thought, this is going to be fun. I felt like going B+. Could do better. It was just one of those moments. So it isn't necessarily about your intellectual capability, although most people who are entrepreneurial are too busy, want to get on with things to go and study academically. No harm with doing the academic education. But what I would encourage you to do is if you are going to do the KPI program, as Daniel said earlier on, you absolutely must be committed to this. This is not, KPI will solve your problem. This is rocket fuel stuff. This is how to accelerate. Coaching in my world is good to great, great to fantastic. It's not broken to fixed. I mean, seriously, it's not. And what we work with all over the world is great organizations looking to ramp it up to the next level. What you've seen are examples of people massively accelerate their business by getting key people who know how to do the bit that you need to know how to do really, really well. What I'll wrap around the session is business process, how to understand business, probably at a wider, deeper level than just product, if that's okay, because that's my speciality. So that's what we do. But if you're going to do the KPI program, I just encourage you, give it, it's the 110% for the 90-day program, and it will transform what you're doing. So if there's questions, comments, thoughts.
Hi, Nick. I'm Celia Delaney.
Hi, Celia.
Thank you so much for that.
You're more than welcome.
I wondered if you could just illustrate for a services business, like I train people in speaking, how to sell on the stage and do that. A business like that, a lot of people here are similarly coaches, trainers, consultants. Just those 4 products,
yep.
What they might be, just so that I'm a little bit clearer on that.
So if I just quickly run you through ours, there's one of the interesting things that, because we're a coaching business. Navitas, which I'm CEO of, is an interesting business. It has 26 businesses that I'm CEO of, so I get to herd 26 cats. A lot of them are in the coaching, training, deliverable space. So what would a product look like? Well, we started off with one core product called coaching. And to make it look like a product, instead of me rocking up and go, how would you like to listen to me? What we have is a series of 20 coaching frameworks. And the research that was done behind that was go find and speak to 700 CEOs in businesses and ask them what their top 3 issues were, collect about 180 issues, and then divide those up into 20 boxes. And when we got to 20 boxes, every issue that any business had ever come up with was in one of those boxes. Now, what that means is I can now go into a business and with my product, called an analytical tool to help me work out what's going on, that means something in their world, I can analyze their business across 20 frameworks, and I draw it out, so there's pictures and stuff that are designed to go with this, and I can go, you're doing that great, that's average, that's terrible. Benchmark their business 1 to 20 and tell them what are the 3 things they need to fix in their business quickly. Called a process, called a system. Then I can show them some tools, which we designed, that sit over the top of here, that instead of saying I've got an issue here, an issue here, an issue here, an issue here, an issue here that I need to fix, I can say you've got several issues here, we need to fix that box, this is the tool that does it, let me teach you how it works. Call the product. Now the second product then is to accelerate that. So our first product was business coaching, and it's not an easy sell. Business coaching in our world is anywhere between $36,000 a year up to, I think our biggest project at the moment is about $2 million a year. How many of you here got $2 million spare? How many of you got $36,000 a year spare? So not many of you are going to buy our first product. So what we created was a £100 product, which gets people buying the advice off an online platform, which pretty much everybody can afford. And it triggers points and helps you get your business to the point where you can afford 36K. And if you can't afford 100, because you're just starting out, then there's a free product called come to an open workshop or download the ebook or have a look on our website and there's some ideas on there. So there's lots of ways to engage people. But what they'll see is product. And the next product that we sold was workshops. Now, let me give you an idea how the workshops work. If you're paying $36,000 a year, how much is that a month? You've got to have these numbers quick, like, come on. You're in business. Good. It's 3, it's not complicated maths. So it's $3,000 a month. Now, if you come into a workshop, it's only 1,200 quid. So does that look cheap or expensive? Looks cheap if you're paying $3,600 for 1 day of coaching your business, but now you're going to get the chairman of the business or the top coach in the world or the top 3 coaches in the world in a workshop all day for $1,200. That's pretty good, eh? But we put 25 to 30 businesses in there. What's my day rate? You think it's cheap. Yeah, it's that technical word again, my favorite word. It's a lot. Like, it's at least 24,000. Now, I was getting 3,000 a month for one day. Now I'm getting 24 to 36 for one day. But you think it's cheap. How easy is it to sell you on the second product if you're already buying the first product? Like, there's a workshop going on this weekend. You need to be there. Okay. Press hard 3 copies. Like, I don't have any problem. We have no problem filling those workshops. We just say to our CEOs, we're running a CEO workshop next month. You need to be there, and you need to take the whole management team. And we'll give you a 2-for-1 deal. And they all rock up. And they go, that was really good value. It was only 1,200 quid, and we got the whole day with Darren and Nick.
You mentioned selling a product from a different industry earlier on, or something along those words. Could you elaborate on that?
So if I sold boxes, basically, and the rule was, you came to me and said, give me a box that's 10 by 10 by 10, and I give you a price. You take that and go to somebody else, say, give me a price for that, and 9, give me a price for that, 8, and down it goes. So if we sell a box, we're in the market with everybody else who can sell boxes, who's got massive scale, etc. So I went out and go to sell solutions. So I said, go work out that you can make the box a 1/4 of an inch smaller and tighten everything up by better tolerances, and now they can get an extra layer in the container, and they don't care how much it is. Don't sell packaging, sell solutions. We just used packaging as the medium for creating solutions in business, which is why we eventually became combined packaging solutions. Is that?
Yes. Yeah, that answers my question. Thank
You sure?
Yeah.
This stuff looks simple. It looks easy. You know, we stand up and talk, and you see these people go, let me show you how I did what I did. You've got to trust me. It is easy if you focus on what you need to do for 90 days. It's the Aussie go hard or go home model. I'm not an Aussie, but I just happen to work with them occasionally. But, you know, and what Dan, what he was giving you there was the go hard or go home. Like, this is not for wimps, this course. It's like, you crack on and you will have the success. There's no two ways about it. I've seen some amazing stories, so
very cool.
Give it a shot.